everybody, and welcome to the Jonathan Ross Show. Let's take a look and see who's in my green room tonight. My first guest is a member of the most influential comedy team of all time. I am delighted he's here. Growing up, this was the only comedy which I adored, and I adore it still today. I'm sure you feel the same way. For Monty Python, the legendary Eric Idle. There he is. Good evening, Eric. Thank you. Also in my green room, the best-selling classical artist of the past 25 years. She'll be chatting and also performing her version of a Stormzy track at the end of the show. It's the incredibly talented Catherine Jenkins. My next guest is a brilliantly entertaining Irish actor. You'll know him from any number of Hollywood movies, and, of course, as Roy from the It Crowd, it's Chris O'Dowd. Hello, Chris. Looking on fleek there. Finally, we have one of the best stand-up comedians around at the moment. He's also the host of the very funny The Mash Report. It is Nish Kumar. Hey, Nish. Now, we're starting off this week with some fantastic royal news, of course. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex, that's Harry and Meghan, to you and me, they've announced they're expecting their first baby. That's lovely news, isn't it? Isn't that lovely news? That is lovely. Now, not that they've asked, but my advice to Harry and Meghan, though, is to be warned, because kids are wonderful, but they have absolutely no respect for your personal property. For example, if you want to keep your expensive TV in pristine condition, don't leave your toddler alone in the same room. Look at this. That happened this week. Yeah. I don't know who was on TV at the time, but whoever it was, they're not going to get nappy rash, because it's important to remember, because when kids do these things, they're only trying to help normally. They don't know what they're doing, and it's very hard. You know, you can't really get cross with them. This is Leanne from Wakefield. Now, she asked her young daughter to help her practice her Halloween makeup. She wanted to look like a scary Halloween clown. Here she is, after her daughter helped her out. She thought her daughter was using lipstick, but what she was actually covered in is a more permanent lip stain that she couldn't get off for 2 days. If it's any consolation, at least people couldn't see she was embarrassed. The worst thing is, though, when she opened her mouth to tell her kid off, someone posted a letter, so you see... The problem is, though, as kids are only trying to help, you can't get angry with them, even when they're caught right in the act. Have a look at this.
Got Sudocrem everywhere. Is this good? Or is this bad?
You see, they're just trying to help. Let's get my first guest out. If it were not for the work of this guy and the rest of the Monty Python team, comedy would not look or sound like it does today. He's one of the most influential comic talents in the world. Before he comes out, let's remind ourselves and enjoy once again some of those classic moments.
On me, nudge, 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 nudge. Say no more.
Bring out your dead. Here's one. Ninepence.
I'm not dead.
What?
Nothing. Here's your ninepence. I'm not dead.
Here. He says he's not dead.
Yes, he is. What's all the trouble, then?
Bitten, sir, during the night.
Whole leg gone, eh?
Yes.
How's it feel?
Stings a bit.
Yeah, move on there. Or what? Or you'll be in trouble.
Oh, dear. You mean I might have to give up being crucified in the afternoons?
He is brave Sir Robin, brave Sir Robin.
Shut up! Nobody really. Just passing through.
Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the right side of life.
Come on, cheer up.
Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. Eric Idle. So much. Eric Idle, ladies and gentlemen. Here he is. Wow. Eric, it's great to have you here.
I thought I'd died. I'm just like an obituary.
Yeah. It's great to have you back here because you live in LA now.
I live in LA, but you know what? We started off in the studio.
Now, this is the amazing... This was the very building where you recorded Monty Python.
If this is TC1,
Yeah.
this is the very studio.
Wow.
We recorded it only 500 years ago.
Wow. That's amazing. Have you been back here much since then?
No.
Wow.
No. We didn't get any more offers of work from the BBC after that.
Well, I know that feeling. So, you moved there, what was it, in 94, I think?
Yes.
And Python were pretty huge all over the world, huge there. I know they're huge everywhere, they're huge in Japan. Is there anywhere you can go where they weren't popular, where you're not recognised, or is it a global thing?
I think in the wife's room, really. Yeah. I don't know. Python sort of snuck its way around the world. It's very strange.
And did they call it the same thing everywhere? Was it Monty Python's Flying Circus everywhere?
No. It was translated into Japanese, and when they translated it back, it said the Gay Dragon Boys Show.
Wow.
You didn't know, did you?
That's a show I really want to see. OK. Eric has a book out, a hugely entertaining, very funny book. It's called, and this won't surprise you, the title, Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. And it's an amazing read. But there was so many things I want to ask you about it. One of the things you talk in there about, there was a period before you settled down with the wife who you're still with. How many years?
41 years.
41
yes.
years.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. You say in the book, I was a bit of a jerk before that.
Yes, yes. Well, you know, we all have our little wild periods between marriages, I think.
Yeah.
So it's true, you know. And we were in America, and American girls are very friendly. And I think it's rude to say no, you know, really. So, yeah, we were young. It was the 70s, you know. Yeah. Nobody was hurt, really.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I was not saying that in a judgmental way.
Oh, good.
But I think it's amazing that you had that moment where you, presumably, was it a moment of epiphany? Was the moment where you said, OK, I want to stop that, I'm going to change the way I am, I'm going to change the way I am with people, or did you just want someone in your life?
No, I changed my life. I was in Barbados, and I just woke up one morning and I didn't know who the person was. And I said to myself, I've got to stop this serial shagging. It's really not good. No, seriously. And I did. I cleaned myself up, and
Oh, you cleaned yourself up?
Well, we were on the beach.
That'd been a big
So
night,
there's the sand that took a long time to clean off. But, and then I stopped eating meat. I was only eating fish from then on.
So do you think that helped you?
It helps it calm the lust, as they say, you know.
So the key to a happy marriage is vegetarianism.
Well, I mean, after I cleaned up, I was very instantly rewarded in New York by meeting my wife, whom I fell in love with at first sight.
Who is here this evening. How wonderful. It's so lovely to see that you're travelling together, and but she's not just sort of keeping an eye on you. I mean, she's travelling...
No, she came in to see the show, actually.
Good.
Yeah. She's probably left by now.
Yeah. Now, if you like a book in which there's a lot of name-dropping, justifiably, this is the one for you, because I'm going to read the introduction, the beginning of chapter 20. I've met many people in my life, and sadly, many of them were not famous. I agree it's not their fault, though they might have tried harder. So you take a very light look at that, but, of course, you have. I mean, you were close friends with George Harrison.
Yeah, the thing is, we were pursued by rock and roll people because we're all the same generation. Also, rock and roll people helped us make our movies. The Holy Grail was paid for by Pink Floyd, Jethro Tull, Led Zeppelin, Genesis. They all put money in.
Amazing.
And The Life of Brian was entirely paid for by George Harrison.
Didn't he? He had to... Did he mortgage it?
Amazing, extraordinary.
Amazing man, obviously.
I mean, he mortgaged his house for $4.5 million and put the whole thing into the budget for The Life of Brian.
Wow.
Because he wanted to see the movie. That's what he said. It's still the most anybody's ever paid for a cinema ticket in history.
Here's the thing I was amazed to find out, and I don't know why, but Elvis was a big fan, and I never thought of him kind of being hip and liking British humour that way, but he was a huge fan, apparently.
It was extraordinary to me because Elvis saved our lives when we were 14. Elvis came, and it was just great, and I loved Elvis. And then I found out from a biography that he called everybody Squire from my Nudge Nudge sketch. Which is like, well, what just happened? The world turned upside down. And I met his penultimate girlfriend, Linda Thompson, and she told me that at night in Memphis, after the television closed down, Elvis, would sit next to her and make her do Monty Python sketches.
Wow.
And not just any, he'd do things like, hello, Mrs. Thing! Hello, Mrs. Entity! Elvis sitting in bed doing that. It's like, I couldn't really believe it.
Yeah, well, of course, let's get on to the songs, because you've written some of the biggest and most popular comedy songs. I mean, the book, as I said, it's called Always Look on the Bright Side of Life, because, of course, that's the song you wrote.
Yeah.
And everyone knows that song, I think. I mean, apparently it's played a lot at funerals.
It's not only played a lot, it's the #1 song in British funerals.
Wow.
Who knew it was a top 10 anyway?
I
But
mean...
it's the #1 song since 2004,
Wow.
when it replaced My Way.
Wow.
Is that weird?
Yeah, who compiles the figures
Well,
for the,
exactly.
the top
and
10?
had to go, oh, and bubbling under this week.
Burning up the charts this week.
Yeah. I like that, though. I'm very proud of that.
OK, I'm going to ask a question. Please, I hope this doesn't seem maudlin and gets all depressed, but if and when you pass over...
Yeah.
Which hopefully won't be for hours.
Yeah.
If and when... will this be played at your funeral, or have you given specific instructions, anything but?
Well, obviously, I mean, it goes without saying, you know, at my funeral that I've asked if they'll play Sit on My Face and Tell Me That You Love Me.
That's it. That's it. There are some sad moments in the book as well, some of which you deal with lightness and you don't dwell on them, but you talk about your father's death and you didn't really know your father because...
No.
How old were you when he died?
I was 2.5, and he was coming back from the war for Christmas holidays, hitchhiking, and was in an accident.
But this is amazing, because he served in the Second World War.
Sure.
Where was he?
He was the rear gunner wireless operator in the back of Wellingtons and Lancasters from 1941. And then he's killed hitchhiking home for Christmas, you know, which is funny. It is funny, you know, it's ironic. It really is, you know, so...
But at the same time, obviously terribly sad. That reaction was a genuine, and I felt that when I read it. I thought, this is just... It's the most awful twist in someone's life.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Yeah, but I didn't really know him.
Yeah.
You know, I was young.
And then your mum, I guess, she took quite a while to recover from
Yeah,
that
she
role.
did. Yeah.
But did she get to live to see your success, to see
Yes,
Python?
no, she did. She enjoyed Python, and she saw a lot of it. You know, she really was very proud of us at the end.
But it's interesting because I know here we're talking on something quite sensitive and real, and you are reluctant to stay in that area. You're obviously happier making jokes and being...
Well, you didn't know my mother.
You see, there you go. That's it. Exactly it. That's it.
No, but mothers can be difficult, especially especially for comedians.
Yeah.
They're very difficult. And psychiatrists say that comedians come out of mother abandonment.
Yeah.
And so that would follow in my case, where she was depressed and disappeared for a while.
So you created
because
a world
it's not
for yourself.
normal to try and get strangers to laugh at you.
Yeah.
It's not a normal... You know, I'm sorry to break this to you. Luckily, the monologue cleared that up. But,
you don't drink anymore. You've given up drinking.
for a while, yes.
Well, when you say for a while, you mean you are drinking again? Or
Well, what have you got? No, yes, no, I was writing, and I clean up from time to time, and I cleaned up, and it's better for me.
Do you miss it?
Yeah. It's lovely, isn't it? I mean, having a glass of wine, or, you know, it's nice, but, you know, you don't want to be the one standing on the table and shouting.
Yeah. In the book, but there's a story about how you almost ruined Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, that's true, actually. But Carrie Fisher was renting our house in London, and Harrison Ford was there, and they were very depressed. And I brought back this bottle of Bucha from Tunisia, which is like 40% fig drink, which is really strong. And I gave it them to cheer them up. And so they started to drink, and the party broke out, and all the Rolling Stones turned up. Really weird, you know, and I pretended it happened all the time. Oh, hey guys, yeah, the drink's over there, yeah. And so this party went on till 6 in the morning when the cars came to take them to Elstree for their filming. And we went to bed, and the Stones went back to hang upside down in their caves. And, when I saw the film, I saw this scene they shot that day, and they're still high. Carrie Fisher comes out, and she goes, "Hi." Harrison Ford is still clearly drunk.
Well, we've got...
So I ruined it. You know, yeah.
Well, it's the best film. That's the best of the films, though.
Yeah.
Have a look at this. Here is a picture from that evening. This is in the book. And there you go. That's amazing.
It's a very rare picture of Harrison Ford laughing.
Yeah.
See? Yeah. And I'm playing the Wookiee.
All right, listen. It's great to have you here. Last time I interviewed you, I think, was 30 years ago.
Is that right?
Yep.
Oh, my God. I remember it as if it were yesterday.
Well, I remember it because it was one of the highlights of what I've ever done on TV. So thank you for coming back here this evening. The fabulous Mr. Eric Idle, ladies and gentlemen. That was amazing. That was amazing. Thank you. Eric Idle. He's going to be here all night, but still to come on the show, I'll be chatting to Catherine Jenkins, so don't go away. Welcome back. Thank you very much, Sid. Welcome back to the show. Let's get my next guest right out here. Here's some facts about her. She's a 6 times platinum-selling artist. Her music is loved by royalty and boozy rugby crowds alike. It is the wonderful Catherine Jenkins. Welcome back to the show. Lovely to see you.
Great interview.
Come on, sit down. Hey, well, congratulations, because I haven't seen you for a while, but I know you've had a new baby fairly recently, haven't you? Was it this year?
I have. Yes, little Xander. He is 6 months tomorrow.
6 months. That's lovely, isn't it? Well, congratulations. Little Xander, he's a little boy, and you've got a little girl.
She's called Aaliyah. She's 3.
She's 3.
She just turned 3.
Wow. And then I know it's too soon to think, but are you going to think of going for a third, or is it 2 enough for you?
I think 2 is quite full on.
Yeah.
But I think I'm probably my most excited when I get to take them to the rehearsal and they're running around amongst the orchestra and, you know, Aaliyah's trying to steal my sparkly microphone off me and
Lovely.
it's, yeah.
Well, we're going to see the sparkly microphone later on because you're doing a Stormzy song for us tonight.
I am.
Are you familiar with Stormzy, Eric?
No.
OK.
But I'm very old.
He's one of the UK's foremost grime artists. Oh. So were you a fan of Stormzy, or was this track just came your way and then you got into his music?
I think I was a fan of the track, and when I was looking at the style of the album, I wanted it to be sort of spiritual and reflective, and although this isn't the usual kind of song I would sing, the words really lent itself. And then I found out that actually Stormzy is religious, and that is the interpretation of the words. So, you know, it's kind of a song that you can put your own interpretation into it, and we thought we'd try it. If it doesn't work, nobody ever has to hear it.
Now, you're touring next year from April onwards, and you'll be here in the UK, but also China, Japan, Holland, America. I would have thought that's quite a big slog. Does that take a toll on you? Do you have to take it easy before the tour so that your voice can sustain for that period?
When I'm on tour, I don't speak between the shows. So I come off stage, and then I'll go for at least sort of 24 hours of absolute silence.
So you don't speak at all?
No, not a word.
So how do you communicate?
Well, I sort of mouth and expect people to lip read, or like my husband to understand me, but he actually loves it when I'm on voice rest. And then and he waits for the moment where I can't answer back, and then he drops something that's really going to wind me up.
Wow. I mean, my wife would love it if I was on voice rest, I'm sure. What are your fans, though? There must be, I would have thought you have some fairly obsessive fans, would that be right?
Yeah. Firstly, everybody's really lovely. I should say that because I am very lucky.
Yeah.
No. I have got a really lovely gentleman who he came to one of the record signings, and he came up to the table and he says, "Catherine, I've got something to show you." And then he dropped his trousers, and I was scared to look, but he actually had a big. He had a big tattoo of my face on his thigh.
You know, Catherine, when you're telling that story, don't pause after big. Get to the tattoo and then pause.
Yes.
Because we were all worried for you. So he has your face on his thigh. But that must be a bit... Is that not a bit weird?
It's weird, but it's also sort of so lovely. It's like... I think that's quite an honour that he wants my face. Oh,
there we go.
Yeah.
I mean, you look happy.
There's another guy who... He actually came to one of my concerts. I received a huge box of chocolates, and then there was a very small card that said, Catherine, full stop. Kath, full stop. Cat, full stop. Pussy, full stop. OK, love John. And I thought, wow, like, what is this crazy card? And thought no more about it. We put it aside. And then I was doing the meet and greet afterwards, and this very lovely gentleman, or very grandfatherly, came up and he said, did you get the box of chocolates? And I said, oh, they were from you. And he said, well, it was the card that was the most important thing. Then he came in for a hug, for a photograph, and whispered in my ear, lovely pussy.
to wash that out.
It takes all sorts.
What a lovely grandfather he must be.
I know.
Wow. When you play abroad sometimes, you try and add a few words for whatever language
Yes.
is most widely spoke there. So what languages have you picked up? What kind of snippets do you have from around the world?
Well, I sing in, obviously, Welsh and English, French, Italian, German, Mandarin.
Wow.
Spanish.
Can I ask you, would you mind if we hear a little bit of Mandarin from you? Either a phrase or a bit of
Sure.
song?
Ni wen wai ni o ju fen wai ni o ji fen.
That's Welsh, isn't it?
No.
I swear that was Welsh. Eric, that was Welsh, wasn't it?
Yeah, very much, yeah.
Now, you got your OBE from Prince Charles.
I did.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That was
Thank
great.
you very much.
There you are. A big day. I guess, who was there with you? Your mum would have been there, I guess, was she on the day?
My mum, sister and husband, who was the boyfriend then. It was amazing, actually. I definitely didn't ever expect to get that, so
No,
it was...
well, you absolutely deserve it. Eric, you were friends with Prince Charles, weren't you? I know he was a fan of Python.
Yes, he came to dinner at Billy Connolly's when we were there, and...
I mean, you've got the best stories.
You do have the best story.
Well, but he asked me if I'd be his jester. He did. He said, well, would you be my jester? And I said, why would I want a fucking awful job like that?
So that's a no, then?
But he did laugh, you know.
Yeah.
He did laugh at that, you know. Just as well, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But no OBE for me. You
No.
know.
Really?
Yeah, no, nothing.
Have you never been offered
No,
one?
nothing, really, no.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, well, I like the money, though.
Here's the thing. Now, I was talking to someone who came with Catherine earlier, and I said, oh, I would hate to be out on a karaoke evening with Catherine because, you know... And she said, no, Catherine's not any good at karaoke. Is that why?
Rubbish at karaoke.
How can you not be good? Because you can sing, so...
No, I promise you. When I first met my husband, Andrew, and we were... he came to London, and we were at a party, and we'd had a few drinks, both of us, and I thought, I've got this. I'm gonna...
Yeah.
You know, pull in the big guns and I'm going to sing on the karaoke.
Yeah.
I sang Adele, and in the morning, he said to me, don't ever do that again. You should never do karaoke.
Why?
Because I really suck at it.
What, and what is it? Because are you trying to do it in their style? Is that the problem, do you think?
I think I'm trying to sing as a, you know, pop diva, and it's just not my voice.
Wow, yeah, because yours is an operatic voice,
exactly,
of course.
and so it's just, it just really goes wrong. So instead, whenever I'm sort of pushed into doing it, instead now I actually try and do something more like rap.
Wow. I mean, that sounds
It's
worse, really.
Yes, probably, but it's actually, I think it's safer.
And who do you act? Not NWA?
I don't even know who NWA is.
Well, if you don't, I ain't going to say it out loud.
Something more like Jay-Z.
Jay-Z?
Yeah.
Favourite Jay-Z track?
Empire State of Mind.
OK, so... I'm going to suggest... I suspect you'd like to hear this.
No. I don't know the words.
OK, well, you can... OK, we can guess it.
You have to do Alicia Keys. Will you do that
OK, so I've got...
bit? Can I stand up?
You can... Yeah, oh, you're going to do the full rap moves.
I have to get into it.
Yeah, you must.
Okay.
Here we go. If you're ready. Oh!
Yeah, I'm at Brooklyn, now down in Tribeca, right next to De Niro, but I'll be hood forever. I'm the new Sinatra, and since I made it here, I can make it anywhere. Yeah, they love me everywhere.
That's
I used to
fine.
pop in Harlem. All of my Dominicanas right there up on Broadway. Pull me back to that McDonald's, straight to my stash box, 560 State Street. Catch me in the kitchen like a Simmons whipping pastries. Cruising down 8th Street, off-white Lexus. Driving so slow, but BK is from Texas. We are mother bed by boom of that boy Biggie. Now I live on billboards and I brought my boys with me. They went up to try it, still nipping my ties. Sitting courtside, mixing nets, give me high five. Johnny, I'd be spiked out. I could trip a referee. Tell by my attitude that I'm most definitely wrong.
Concrete jungle where dreams are made of. There's nothing you can't do.
Yeah.
Now you're in New York.
Catherine Jenkins, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, my gosh. I'm actually out of the closet now.
You know, that was silly because I'm not allowed to speak for another day now.
Me either.
Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get my next guest right out there. He's the very funny star of The It Crowd, Bridesmaids and the brilliant comedy drama Get Shorty. It is Mr. Chris O'Dowd. Come on out, Chris.
Oh, God, you listen to all these incredible stories by Eric Idle.
Yep.
I'm thinking, well, at least I can do opera in Mandarin.
Yeah. And now we've taken that away from you.
Catherine's ruined everything.
Did you enjoy our musical duet back there?
Your voice was an abomination.
Oh, wow.
I enjoyed it, but it was...
Yeah, for the wrong reasons.
It was quite vile.
You and Eric... you and Eric know each other a little bit, don't you?
A little. We met, we throw a carol singing part. Oh, you're welcome. You'd be welcome there, yes. We have a carol singing at Christmas.
Because you live in LA, of course.
That's
well.
right.
Yeah.
And so we have a mutual friend in Paul Feig who directed Bridesmaids.
Wow.
And so Eric came over with his lovely lady, and yeah, we had a fun time.
We did, though. You asked me, they were doing carols and there were kids there, and they said, we put you down to sing your song, Fuck Christmas.
Some different tunes.
Yeah. What's the first line of Fuck Christmas? How does it...
Hey, fuck Christmas.
Okay.
It's a waste of fucking time. Fuck Santa, he's just out to get you a dime. And it gets worse.
How crazy is it that he doesn't have an OBE, by the way?
No, I think it's quite right. Why are you asking me? I don't know. I don't give them out.
You could give him yours.
Fuck, no way.
Like, if we really break it down, you...
Well, I tell you what,
we're all thinking it.
I tell you what, let's not really break it down then.
Okay.
I get the feeling that a lot of your life you've kind of you've gone with the flow. Is it true you wound up living in Paris or somewhere in France for several months without really meaning to?
I was supposed to go there for the day. We had been on it like we were, what, 18 maybe. We'd been on a show in the audience and as kind of drunk-up students, and it was a similar kind of a show to this, but in Ireland, it's a show called The Late Late Show.
Yeah.
And they used to do this lovely thing where the host would say, we've got this new product or whatever, and there's one for everybody in the audience, which I think would be good for you to do.
Bix for everyone this evening.
But anyway, on this particular night, they had some new ferry that was going from the south of Ireland to France. And so they said, OK, well, we've got 4 tickets for everybody in the audience.
Wow.
And there was 4 of us, so we had 16 tickets. And so we headed off on a booze cruise. Yeah. And we thought, well, we'll go to Cherbourg, and then we'll you know, have fun there, and then we'll get back on the ferry the next morning. And we got there, and I hadn't been out of the country before, and I was like, there's bread and cheese and all of these things that I enjoy. And so I said, come on, guys, the World Cup was starting, it was 98,
yeah.
And it was on in France. So I said, let's go down to Paris, and, you know, we'll just spend the day and do the sights. And I said, who's coming? And everybody's like, not me. So I went on my own on a train down to Paris and went wandering around, and eventually, towards the end of the day, I went to the Eiffel Tower, as you would, and I was walking around under the Eiffel Tower, just about to go back on the train to the ferry, and somebody said, Chris? And it was some girl that I knew from home, and she'd been on some exchange program, and she brought me out, and I ended up getting a job in a bar and stayed there for 5 months.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was kind of wild. And getting the job was tricky because I had gone in and it was like a cocktail bar on the Champs-Elysees, and I hadn't been into one of those before. And so I went up and asked the guy for a job, and he said, oh, no, we don't need anybody. And I'm like, but I'm really good. And he said, OK, we'll come back tomorrow and we'll have an interview or something. And I thought, OK. So I went back the next day and he didn't turn up. Greasy prick. And I realised he was just fobbing me off on the night, and he was the night manager. But for whatever was happening that day in this bar, there was just this kind of plethora of nonsense happening with all these kind of drunk people coming from all over the world for the World Cup, and a kind of tray of drinks just fell over as I was walking over to the day manager. And she said, what do you want? And I said, I talked to Marco last night, and I'm supposed to be starting work today. And she said, OK, give him a T-shirt, give him a T-shirt. And so they gave me, like, a T-shirt for this bar, and I got in behind the bar. And there was another guy there, a guy from Dublin. I was like, man, I have no idea what I'm doing with all this cocktail thing. And he said, well, can you pull pints? I'm like, I can do that. And he said, well, I'll do the cocktails. And so that'll get us through a few hours. And so I did that. And then Marco, the night manager, came in. And he's like, what are you doing? And I said, well, I had the interview with Tina. So that was the end of it.
Oh, that's amazing. Amazing. OK, so now how do you wind up there now, working in LA on Get Shorty? Because this is, it was a brilliant book, a great film, and now a TV series. And I'm asking you, not because, you know, I think you're a super talented actor, but because you're playing a kind of tough guy.
Yes.
And I've never seen you in that role before.
No, it's a surprise to myself also. But I was looking for something that felt different to everything I'd done before. And then this kind of came along, and I love the script. And then I just decided, OK, well, I feel a little bit scared, so that feels like it's probably a good reason to do it.
It's a good reason to take yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So how do you now, what is it that you do as an actor to look tough on screen? How do you create that moment? What do you do? What have you observed in actual tough people that will inform your acting as a tough person? Are you doing it now? Is this it?
I don't know. I was just wondering if you were going to get to the end of the bloody question. I was kind of doing the shopping in my head there.
I'm just taking the pen away from you. No Bics for you tonight. Let's have a look. This is Get Shorty. Series 2 has just started on Sky Atlantic. It's on Thursdays at 9 p.m. I'm loving it.
Thanks,
It's amazing. Have a look at this. This is Get Shorty with Chris O'Dowd.
There are people who want this movie to succeed. These people are part of an organization that you don't fuck with. The studio. Different kind of organization.
Our informant, film producer Rick Morweather.
Who are those other guys?
Miles Daly and Louis Darnell.
The filmmaker, Kubrick and Coppola.
I'm excited about the movie. Hope it lives up to the hype.
I just hope it's as good as the other English period dramas you like.
When I first got to LA, I wanted to get closer to my kid, and I wanted to make a movie.
If we don't sell this weekend, we may never sell. It's sink or swim for us.
When do I get my cut?
You took a 1, and you turned it into a solid 5.
Out of fucking 10.
Get Shorty, Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Sky Atlantic. It's a great show. Do you go back to Ireland much? Do you get back? Do you think of it as home still?
Oh, yeah. I get back, actually, I probably get back 2 or 3 times a year. Right. It's a lot of religious festivals. You know, but it is. It's like christenings and funerals, and it's, you know, most of the time it's tough.
What do they play at the funerals?
I actually had this thing in my, when you were talking about it earlier on. In my will, I have, like, stated what song is to be played at my
You've written the
funeral.
will already?
Yeah.
That's very forward-thinking of you.
Well, I had a lot of threats against my life.
Ah, OK.
No, I made a will at some stage.
Wow.
And the Monster Mash by Bobby Pickett has to be legally sung at my funeral.
Catherine, have you thought about what you might like played at your funeral? Obviously, hopefully, we'll all be long dead by then, especially Chris. But do you have any? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I've also done my will and put the song in it. Yeah.
Could you mind telling us?
Well, I wanted a bit of Welsh pride, so I've gone for Calon Lan.
Wow.
Yes.
That's that Chinese song that everyone loves.
You know it. It's the one it's always sung at the rugby.
Oh, which one?
Oh, I love
would you mind humming it?
Calon Lan yn llawn daioni, tegech yw na'r lili dlos.
Wow, that's beautiful. I'm feeling sad already.
It's not a sad song, but I wanted a bit of Welsh.
Yeah. I mean,
it'll be a sad day, probably. You know, people will be sad enough.
Chris, could we have a little bit of the Monster Mash from you?
I was working in the lab.
Gone but not forgotten. Chris, it's great to have you back on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr.
Ladies and
Ross.
gentlemen, Chris O'Dowd. Amazing. Thank you. Still to come, we've got the fabulous Nish Kumar coming out and Catherine Jenkins performing right here in the studio. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. OK, coming up now, he's not just the brilliant host of The MASH Report, a very funny show, but he's also one of the best stand-up comics in the country at the moment. Will you please welcome Mr. Nish Kumar?
Nice to see you.
Listen up. Oh. Hold on, I'm just getting with this quote.
Really got the side of my beard.
Wow.
Also, I've been trying to cover the fact that I'm still eating minstrels from the backstage. Because you cannot leave free food around me.
Wow. Nish, am I saying I'm saying Kumar. Is that why it's not Kumar?
It's Kumar, technically.
Oh, it's
Nish
Kumar?
Yeah, technically.
I apologise.
But don't worry, mate. I mean, the Metro newspaper the other week pronounced it Patel.
Yes. That sounds like it's just a joke, but we have that. Here it is. This is...
Yeah. So, Nish Patel, and also, not only have they got my name wrong, they're also insulting me. They've described me as having abs of jelly and butts of butter.
Chris, well, how are you with reviews? Because over the years, you must have had, I'm sure, a lot of very positive ones, but surely some negative ones as well.
There's a lot of up and down. The first time I remember being reviewed was I was in, like, an Irish drama series, which is like a procedural medical thing. And I was this somewhat antisocial bookkeeper, and it was a very positive review of the whole show. And then towards the end, they were like, and it was a sparkling performance by Chris O'Dowd, who played the role of the bookkeeper with autism with real grace and kindness. And he did not have autism. He was just really shy. But I decided to not tell him.
Take the praise where you can.
Let it fly.
Now, the MASH Report is great, and now it's weird because it's a BBC show, BBC Two, of course.
Yeah.
It pioneers new comedy, and of course that's where you began, wasn't it? Monty Python was initially BBC Two, was it not?
No.
Let's say this. Let's do this again.
Do you want to do it again?
We'll do it again.
Do it again.
Of course, the MASH Report is on the BBC,
Yeah.
and of course that's where you started.
It's absolutely right, yeah.
Have you seen Eric?
That's a coincidence.
Eric, have you seen the MASH Report? Do you get?
Yes,
I
I
know
like
you
the
keep
MASH
up.
Report.
Yeah.
I watch it on the net, on the web.
Oh, thanks, Eric.
I love it, yeah.
That's
Because you
very
keep up, I
exciting.
guess you make an effort to keep up with new British comedy.
No.
I guess. No.
It's just very funny. I like it.
Have you got to the stage now? Because I'm a recent convert to your work, and of course I had the good fortune of working with you briefly a couple of years back.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But have you got to the stage now where people do recognise you? Do they know that it's Nish off the telly when they see
So,
you
no,
on
I
the
mean,
street?
there's always a certain element of relief when people do recognise you on shows like this, because I have to say, I was sat there looking at this lineup and being like, you've got a Monty Python one of the best-selling recording artists of all time, star of Bridesmaids, the fattest Mo Salah tribute act in history. It's a real relief. But
there is a Mo Salah look about you, of course, you're right.
I certainly got a Salehian vibe.
Yeah. Do people think you're him ever?
Yeah, sometimes people do. There are people on the internet who, whenever Mo Salah scores a goal, tweets Mo Salah and me to congratulate us as if we exist on a doorstep. Yes, like, and what I like about it is that Mo Salah, he scored 33 goals last season. It's a record for a 38-game Premier League. He's, like, set all sorts of new records. And what I like is that once a week he sits in his house going, "Who the hell is Nish Kumar?" But, yeah, it's a relief sometimes when people recognise you. Other times, not so much. Because, like, I was on the tube and a lady took a photo of me. But, like, she didn't ask me to say... If people want to take a photo, I'm quite happy to do that. But she took a secret photo of me, but it wasn't even a good secret. Like, she basically had, like, some papers, like, up the front. And so I'm just sat there where you are, and this is what I see. I just slowly just see the flame just coming over the top of it. And then I can see her doing this, so I know she's putting a filter on it, right? And I went home and I said to my girlfriend, "Oh, I think someone took a secret photo of me." And she was like, "No one's taken a secret photo of you. This has all gone to your head, right?" Because that's the sort of level we communicate at. But then, 5 minutes later, I got a tweet and I was like, "Ha-ha!" Because someone had tweeted me that photo, but under the caption, "Lol, this guy looks like a fat version of Nish Kumar."
How do you guys with selfies, by the way? Because it must happen a lot. Are you cool?
I'm pretty good. Actually, somebody did this to me yesterday. I was at the airport. I get a lot of, I see pictures of myself that people have snuck. But what's frustrating is, every time it happens, I'm picking my nose. People must be on Twitter going, how much stuff does he have up there?
Catherine, you must get a lot of people sneaking pictures of you, I would have thought that.
Yeah, and I'm so happy to do them. Like, somebody comes up and asks, then I think that's fine. I also, though, I had a thing where I was back home in Nice and two girls came running over to me and they were like... And then they got to me and said, "Oh, no. Catherine Jenkins has got a much bigger bottom lip." And then they walked off. It's the same thing. You're like, how do I not look like myself?
Eric, what about you?
Well, I'm full of the milk of human kindness, so I always start my show with a song I've written called Fuck Selfies.
Hold it, so there's Fuck Christmas.
Yeah, well, so I can use it the rest of the year, you see? Similar tune.
You do some controversial material, by which I mean, at the moment, I know you've been talking quite a lot on the Match Report, but also in your live show, I think, about Brexit.
Yeah, sure.
And that's obviously inherently a divisive issue these days.
Yeah, very much. I mean, 52% of my gigs are tricky.
Which I believe is an overwhelming majority.
Oh, it's an overwhelming majority that we should never discuss ever again.
Yeah, but, I mean, do you have to... I mean, do you find anything positive to say about Brexit, or is it all...
No! The whole thing is being run by Theresa May, who campaigned for Remain and is now pushing for a Brexit so aggressive Pret a Manger is going to have to change his name to Food In It. And the breakout star of the entire movement is Jacob Rees-Mogg, a man who will only make sense if in 5 years' time it turns out he's being played by Sacha Baron Cohen, right?
As I said, Nish is on tour. The tour's called It's In Your Nature to Destroy Yourself, which is that a Terminator 2
quote? It's Terminator 2 quote.
Okay.
Great spot, yeah.
He's on through till March 2019. But first of all, let me just talk a little bit about the show you've done on TV with Joel Dommett.
Yes.
Joel and Nish versus the World. Is it on Comedy Central?
It's on Comedy Central, yeah.
Very funny shows on Mondays at 9. And you've done 2 series now?
Yeah.
So what's the premise here? The premise
this
is...
photo needs so much explanation.
And it's a beautiful image.
It's a lovely image of the two of us. So the premise of the show is that Joel is very sort of into physical fitness, and he does this thing called CrossFit, which is basically sort of prison workouts for people from a socio-economic class that mean they're unlikely to go to jail, right? And so because he's really into that, they thought it'd be fun to send him to sort of live with tribes and live with people who live extremely physically. So, and then they also thought, well, it'll be fun for him to have a fat sidekick. Hello! And so I'm his kind of sassy sidekick who does the reading and sort of does the whole kind of cultural side of things.
But you've been to some amazing places.
Oh, man. That photo was taken in Argentina when we spent some time with the gauchos, who are actual cowboys.
Well, we have a clip. This is in Argentina.
Let's have a look.
From a distance, it looked very odd. Just Nish sort of
watching a man being very intimate with a horse. And then I got closer, you can't help but get wrapped up in it. Joel, this bloke is some kind of horse wizard. It's like just seeing two different species cross that line, you know?
I genuinely can't believe what I just saw.
That is the closest to real sorcery I've ever come across.
Absolutely amazing.
Also, I should explain, the gauchos all have moustaches, so we thought it would be fun to shave moustaches. So that's why we look like the Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah. I'm hoping you kept that hat. Yes, that's.
You look like a Scottish matador.
That was not the opinion of customs at Heathrow Airport.
Yeah. The MASH report is back when?
Next Friday.
Next Friday, the MASH report on BBC Two. And you can see Nish on tour right through till March. Look out for it because he's, as you found out this evening, I'm sure, a very funny man indeed. Mr. Nish Kumar, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Nish. Amazing. OK. This is the moment I've been looking for on you as well because I heard her do this rehearsal. It was amazing. It's going to blow you away. Catherine, if you'd like to get ready to perform. Ladies and gentlemen, Catherine Jenkins is going to go over there now and get ready. We'll be back next week, but now with her cover of Stormzy's Blinded by Your Grace, it is Catherine Jenkins.
Blinded by your grace, every night, every day, and I was lost, yeah, but ever since you found me, I'm blinded by your grace. Through the darkness you came, and out